Hello, everyone. This is Kailey and Peggy back again with another episode of Grief and Brief by Henry Ford Sandcastles. And today we're going to be talking about flipping the script, specifically navigating conversations with someone who's grieving. And it's important to start off by mentioning that grief is a universal experience, and it often remains a deeply personal and isolating journey at the same time. And when faced with the death of a loved one, words often feel inadequate, making us unsure of what to say or do. The National Alliance for Children's Grief, or the NACG, has launched the Flip the Script campaign this Children's Grief Awareness Month to raise awareness about the impact of our words on those who are grieving. And as a member of the Alliance, Sandcastles is partnering in this awesome campaign to spread the word about this important topic. And the campaign encourages us to rethink common phrases and cliches that may inadvertently cause more pain than comfort. So together, we advocate for a more empathetic and supportive approach where we'll emphasize validation and understanding in that grief journey.
So here's some examples. First, we start with the things not to say. For example, I know how you feel. Well, empathizing with the griever is really important. It's also important to recognize that grief is 100% unique and personal to each individual, kind of like a fingerprint or a snowflake. No two people experience a death in the same way. So instead of claiming to know their feelings, you could say something like, I can't imagine what you're going through right now, but I'm here for you.
And another example of something not to say is, you should be over it by now. We know that grief doesn't follow a timeline, and it's a process that unfolds at different paces for different people. So instead of imposing these expectations, you could say something like, take your time to grieve. There's no right or wrong way to feel.
Another example of what not to say, the phrase at least with anything following it. So statements starting with at least often minimize the pain of the loss. So instead of using at least, focus on acknowledging the loss without comparing it to others. For example, instead of saying, well, at least they lived a long life, say something like, they were a really special person who touched the lives of many people.
Another example of something not to say is, they're in a better place. And while this phrase may be meant to bring comfort, for some it can invalidate their feelings of loss and separation with the person who's died. So instead of focusing on the afterlife, maybe try focusing on the impact of the loss in this world. For example, you could say something like, they will be deeply missed by all who knew them.
Another example of what not to say is phrases like telling people that they need to be strong. Well, a phrase like that is meant to encourage people. It also puts a lot of pressure on the griever to suppress their emotions or their sadness and just be strong all of the time. So instead of telling them to be strong, you can say something like, it's okay to feel sad, angry, or confused. You're not alone in this. I'm here for you.
Absolutely. And finally, we wanted to share some additional things that you can say to someone who's grieving when you really aren't sure what else to say. So, one example, a simple one here is, I'm sorry for your loss. Because sometimes simple words of sympathy can go a long way in acknowledging that person's pain.
Right along with that, I'm here for you. So letting them know they're not alone in this, that you're here for them, that you care about them, and you're available to listen or help them in any way you can.
Another thing you can say or do is, what can I do to help? You can ask them this and then also offer specific assistance. So maybe that's running errands or providing meals for them. And that can be really helpful at times, even more so than offering vague offers of support.
Tying all three of those together is a beautiful way to approach things. Other
Mhm.
examples, for example, your loved one would be really proud of you right now. So acknowledging, the griever's resilience can be a source of strength when they're going through a hard time.
Hmm. And just talking about the person who died can be a source of comfort and connection. You can offer a space to the griever to share a memory of their loved one, or maybe even reminisce on the special times that they shared together. And you can prompt this by sharing a special memory that you have with the person who died. There's so much value and power in being able to just say the person's name out loud.
Absolutely. It keeps that continuing bond and that connection there. So remember, the most important thing is to be present, that we're listening without judgment, and offer support without imposing your own expectations on their grief process. By flipping the script, we can create a more supportive and compassionate environment for those navigating that difficult path of grief.